Have you ever dreamed of exploring the Philippines, a country of emerald islands, volcanoes, and seas that shine like glass? Many travelers know Boracay's beaches and Palawan's cliffs, but few realize the country also hides rice terraces carved into mountains, lagoons surrounded by jungle, and lakes high in the hills. The good news is you don't have to piece it all together yourself. Today, we'll take you through the Philippines' most extraordinary places, from remote islands to landscapes that feel unreal. In the islands of Bukas Grande, east of Siargao, the sea opens into a hidden world of green lagoons and limestone walls. This is Sohoton, a place where water and forest flow together, where cliffs rise straight from the sea and light filters through in shifting shades of blue. From above, the cove looks like a cluster of circles connected by narrow channels that fill and empty with the tide. Boats move slowly through the passages, their engines echoing between the cliffs. The water turns glassy and still, so clear that coral and rock are visible far below. Caves open in the limestone, some large enough to pass through, others hidden in shadow, where the light fades to green. Inside the lagoons, jellyfish drift near the surface, their translucent forms pulsing gently with the current. The air is quiet, except for the sound of paddles and dripping water. High in the Cordillera Mountains of northern Luzon, slopes of green rise in steps that seem to climb into the clouds. These are the rice terraces of Banaue and Batad, carved by hand more than 2,000 years ago, cut into the mountains one stone wall at a time. Seen from above, they form vast amphitheaters of earth and water, reflecting the sky in every pool. Footpaths wind along narrow ledges between terraces. Water flows down from mountain springs, spreading through channels that glisten under the sun. Farmers still tend the paddies as their ancestors did, guiding the water, planting by season, harvesting in rhythm with the rain. Batad lies deeper in the valley, its terraces shaped in a perfect bowl, surrounded by ridges and forest. In the center of the Visayas lies Bohol, an island shaped by rivers, hills, and coral shores. Inland, the land folds into hundreds of rounded mounds, known as the Chocolate Hills, a landscape that turns green in the rain and brown in the dry season. From the ridges, the hills stretch in every direction, their shapes so precise they seem almost sculpted. Rivers wind through the valleys, moving slow and wide beneath canopies of palm and bamboo. Villages rise along the banks, their houses built on stilts above the water. In the forest, tarsiers cling to branches no thicker than a finger, their eyes bright in the shadows. Along the coast, limestone cliffs break into white beaches and coves, where the sea glows turquoise above the reefs. Ferries cross the narrow channels toward Cebu, their wakes tracing white lines across the calm. Off the northern coast of Palawan lies Coron, a fortress of limestone cliffs rising straight from the sea. The rock faces are sheer and jagged, their surfaces streaked with gray, black, and gold, where water has run for centuries. Between them, hidden lagoons open suddenly, still blue water surrounded by walls of stone that rise hundreds of feet high. Beneath the surface, coral reefs cover the shallows, and deeper down, the seafloor holds the wrecks of ships from a long-ago war. Divers descend through clear water, passing between rusted hulls, now claimed by coral and fish. Above, the light breaks on the surface, turning everything into shifting patterns of blue. Wooden boats move through narrow channels where the cliffs almost touch. The sound of their engines fades into the distance, leaving only wind, water, and the echo of waves against stone. In the mountains of Luzon, Mount Pinatubo rises from the scars of one of the most powerful eruptions in the 20th century. In 1991, the volcano exploded with force that darkened skies across the region, burying towns in ash and changing the landscape for miles around. Rivers turned to gray torrents, valleys filled with mud, and the mountain itself collapsed into a vast crater. Today, the volcano stands quiet. Inside its caldera lies a lake of pale turquoise water, surrounded by cliffs of gray and gold. The surface is still, but the walls around it tell of the violence that shaped them. Trails cut through canyons of ash and stone, leading toward the basin where the air smells faintly of sulfur. The land remains fragile, grasses grow over the old ash fields, and rivers have carved new paths through the Lahar Plains. At the center of the archipelago lies Cebu, a long, narrow island stretched between deep seas. Ridges run along its spine, rising sharply from plains that meet the coast in sudden drops of rock and coral. From the air, the island looks split in two by the mountain range that divides its east and west, both sides lined with fishing towns and white beaches. The land is never still. Roads twist through hills covered in palms and sugarcane. Rivers cut down toward the sea, forming small waterfalls and pools hidden in valleys. Offshore, The reefs are alive with color. Walls of coral that fall into deep blue, where whale sharks and sardines move in dense shimmering clouds. Inland, the air turns cooler in the uplands, where old churches and stone crosses mark the routes of early trade and faith. The coastlines remain busy with ferries and fishing boats, their lights scattered across the channel at night. In the mountains of Davao Oriental, the Katil River descends through a long chain of waterfalls known as Aliwagwag. More than 100 tiers of rock step down the valley, forming one of the tallest cascades in the Philippines. The water spreads and narrows again as it moves downhill, breaking into white foam before gathering in deep blue pools below. Each level is shaped differently. Some falls are only a few meters high, others drop like walls of water between cliffs covered in ferns. Mist drifts through the trees, catching the sunlight in thin veils. The sound of the river echoes through the forest, constant and heavy, even from far away. Bridges and trails cross parts of the cascade, but much of it remains surrounded by untouched forest. Along the western edge of the Philippines stretches Palawan, a narrow island where mountains rise directly from the sea. Its limestone cliffs stand like walls of gray and white, split by coves and hidden lagoons. From the air, the island appears as a spine of green ridges, surrounded by clear water that fades from turquoise to deep blue. Forests cover the slopes, thick with vines and palms. Caves open inside the cliffs, carved by rain and time. Beneath them, the sea runs through channels and underground rivers, winding for kilometers beneath stone before returning to the surface. Along the coast, villages sit between jungle and coral reefs. Boats cross quiet bays and narrow straits, their engines echoing between cliffs. Offshore, smaller islands and sandbars scatter across the horizon, some no larger than a stretch of white sand and a single tree. On the western side of Siargao lies Sugba Lagoon, a hidden stretch of emerald water enclosed by forested cliffs. From above, it looks like a mirror set deep within the limestone hills, its surface calm, shifting color with the light. Narrow channels connect it to the open sea, where the tide moves in and out like breath. Boats glide over clear shallows before entering the lagoon, their wakes breaking the still surface for only a moment. The water turns from green to blue as it deepens, and beneath it, coral gardens cover the stone floor. Off the eastern coast of Cebu lies Olango, a flat island surrounded by wide shallows and mangrove forests. The land seems to hover just above the tide, its shores stretching into long wetlands where the sea and earth blend together. From the air, the island looks like a patch of green and silver water, bordered by coral reefs. When the tide recedes, vast sand flats emerge, streaked with channels and pools. Flocks of migratory birds gather here, herons, egrets, and plovers, resting along their route across Asia. The air fills with their movement and calls, rising above the sound of the wind and sea. Luzon is the northern giant of the Philippines, a land of mountains, plains, and restless coasts. At its center stretch wide lowlands of rice and rivers, framed by ridges that rise abruptly toward the sky. The Sierra Madre runs along the eastern edge, its forests facing the Pacific, while on the west, the Zambales Mountains fall toward the South China Sea. Volcanoes mark the landscape. Mayon stands almost perfect in shape, its slopes smooth and symmetrical, until clouds gather around its rim. Farther north, Pinatubo's crater hides a turquoise lake formed from fire and ash. Across the plains, rivers spread into deltas before meeting the sea, winding through fields that feed much of the country. Luzon's contrasts are constant. Highlands hold cool air and pine forests, while the lowlands burn in the tropical sun. In southern Luzon rises Mayon, a volcano so perfectly shaped it seems drawn by hand. Its cone climbs more than 2,000 meters above the plains, its slopes smooth and symmetrical from every direction. From the fields below, it appears serene, but the mountain is alive, breathing smoke and fire through its summit. Mayon has erupted more than 50 times, shaping the land and the lives around it. Villages lie at its base, where the soil is dark and fertile from ancient lava flows. When the volcano stirs, ash and rock sweep down its sides, leaving the air thick and gray before the winds cleared again. On the edge of Manila Bay, the capital spreads across plains and reclaimed land, a vast city built where rivers meet the sea. The skyline rises above the water in layers of concrete, glass, and tangled streets that stretch endlessly inland. From above, the city looks like a living maze, blocks of houses, bridges, and avenues glowing under the tropical haze. Manila moves without pause. Traffic crawls through the heat, horns echoing between high-rises. Markets spill onto sidewalks, and crowds flow through stations and intersections until long after dark. In the air, the scent of food, fuel, and salt mixes with the humidity from the bay. Yet amid the noise, fragments of the past remain. Old stone walls stand beside modern towers, churches face neon streets, and faded colonial buildings overlook the harbor. At sunset, the bay reflects the entire skyline in gold light, before night turns it into a sea of moving lights and sound. In the forest of Siquijor, a clear river tumbles through tiers of turquoise pools, known as Cambugahay Falls. The water flows down from the island's interior, dropping in thin curtains over limestone ledges, before collecting in calm basins below. Each pool glows a different shade of blue, lit by sunlight filtering through the canopy. Wooden steps lead through the jungle to the water's edge. Ropes hang from the trees, and swimmers swing out over the pools before falling into the cold, clear depths. The sound of the cascades fills the valley, echoing between moss-covered stones. The river continues downhill through vines and bamboo, disappearing into the forest. Around it, the air stays cool, even under the tropical sun, and the water runs bright through the heart of the island. Off the southern coast of Negros, Apo Island rises from the sea like a dark green hill surrounded by blue water. The shore is narrow and rocky, lined with boats pulled high onto the beach. Beyond the shallows, the seafloor drops into coral gardens that stretch for hundreds of meters in every direction. Beneath the surface, turtles glide between massive coral heads, feeding in slow circles before rising for air. Schools of fish shimmer in the light, and currents carry clouds of silver and blue across the reef walls. The water stays clear, revealing soft corals and sea fans waving in the motion of the tide. At the northeastern tip of Luzon, Palaui Island faces the open Pacific, a wild stretch of green hills, cliffs, and white sand where waves crash hard against the shore. The island lies just beyond the mainland, separated by a narrow channel crossed only by small boats. From a distance, its headlands rise steeply from the water, covered in grass and forest that glows under the sun. Trails cut through the island's interior, climbing from mangrove flats to ridges overlooking the sea. The wind moves constantly, carrying the sound of waves even to the highest slopes. Along the coast, the path leads to Cape Agano, where an old lighthouse stands above the cliffs. Its walls are worn by salt and time, but the view stretches endlessly. Sea in every direction, blue fading into white haze. Below, the coastline folds into coves and reefs, the water shifting between green and deep indigo. Along the western edge of Luzon, the Zambales Mountains rise between the plains and the sea. The range is dry and rough, made of ancient volcanic rock that crumbles into red soil and gray cliffs. From the lowlands, the slopes appear scorched under the sun, their ridges fading into the haze that drifts in from the coast. The terrain is carved by rivers that run only during the rains, cutting deep gorges through fields of lahar and ash. Scattered forests cling to the higher elevations, where wind shapes the grass and clouds gather against the peaks. From the ridgelines, the view stretches to the sea, long beaches and coves hidden between the headlands. At dawn, the mountains glow in muted gold, and by noon, the air shimmers with heat. On the western coast of Palawan, the sea around Port Barton spreads into a maze of small islands and coral reefs. The water glows in layers of blue and green, broken only by white beaches and clusters of palms. From the shore, the islands seem close enough to touch, small silhouettes scattered across the calm expanse of the bay. Boats travel between them through water so clear the seabed is visible even at depth. Sandbars appear with the tide, vanishing again beneath the shifting light. Beneath the surface, corals form bright ridges where fish move in slow, flickering waves. Some islands hold only a few trees and a hut facing the sea. Others have coves hidden by cliffs, where the water stays completely still. At the northernmost edge of the Philippines, the Batanes Islands rise from rough seas and open sky. Rolling hills meet cliffs that drop straight into deep blue water, and waves crash against the black stone shore. The land feels carved by wind, grass bending in every direction, clouds racing low over the ridges. Villages of stone houses stand close to the ground, their thick walls built to survive the storms that sweep across the islands. Narrow roads wind between the slopes, leading to lighthouses that watch over the channel. From their towers, the horizon stretches wide, sea, sky, and scattered islands fading into mist. In the heart of the Cebuian Sea lies Romblon, an island of marble mountains and quiet coves. Its ridges rise steeply from the coast, their slopes covered in palms and bamboo that reach down to the water's edge. From the sea, the island appears solid and pale, cliffs and stone gleaming in the sun. The land is rich with marble, veins of white and gray running through the hills. Quarries cut into the slopes above the town, where the sound of tools echoes across the valley. Below, narrow streets wind between old stone houses, their walls built from coral and rock pulled from the island itself. North of Mindanao lies Cambugahay, a small island shaped entirely by volcanoes. Peaks rise from the sea in every direction, their slopes covered in forest that climbs towards steaming craters. From the air, the island looks circular and self-contained, its ridges forming a ring around valleys filled with rivers and hot springs. The land carries the memory of eruptions. Centuries ago, entire villages were buried under ash and lava, their remains still visible beneath the waves along the coast. Black sand beaches stretch at the island's edge, and offshore a white sandbar appears at low tide, a thin line of pure sand surrounded by deep blue water. Waterfalls pour from the hills, dropping into clear pools hidden by trees. Paths wind through banana groves and fumaroles that vent thin smoke from the earth. Hidden in the mountains of Lanao del Norte, Limunsudan Falls drops through dense rainforest in two massive tiers. The upper cascade falls in a thin white column from the cliffs above, while the lower plunge crashes into a deep basin surrounded by mist. Together, the drops measure more than 800 feet, one of the highest waterfalls in the country. The approach is long and difficult. Trails cut through thick jungle, crossing rivers and ridges before the sound of falling water begins to fill the air. When the trees finally open, the cliffs appear suddenly, walls of rock covered in moss and vines, shining under constant spray. Each year in Dumaguete, the streets burst into color for the Sandurot Festival, a celebration of friendship, migration, and shared roots. Dancers in bright costumes fill the avenues, moving to the beat of drums and gongs that echo through the city. The air carries the scent of flowers, roasted food, and sea breeze drifting in from the bay. Sandurot means fellowship in the local dialect, and the festival retells how people from distant islands once came together to build the city. Performers reenact arrivals by sea, blending traditional Visayan music with modern rhythms. Parades stretch from Rizal Boulevard to the town center, where crowds cheer under banners and confetti. In the province of Sorsogon, Mount Bulusan rises above a circle of forest and lakes. Its slopes are steep and dark with trees, and from time to time, thin smoke drifts from vents near the summit. Beneath the canopy, the ground stays damp with heat, a reminder that fire still moves under the mountain. The volcano is part of a chain that runs along the Bicol Peninsula, where the earth folds and breaks along deep faults. Around its base lies Bulusan Lake and the smaller Lake Aguingay, both formed by old eruptions and cradled by forested ridges. The air there is heavy with mist and the scent of rain. Trails wind through bamboo and fern, climbing towards sulfur fields and old lava flows. Birds move through the fog, their calls echoing between the trees. North of Cebu, across a narrow strait, lies Malapascua, a small island surrounded by pale blue water and white sand that glows under the sun. Boats line the shore, their hulls painted in bright colors, and palm trees lean toward the sea. From above, the island looks like a thin strip of sand, floating between coral shallows and deep water. Beneath the surface, the seafloor drops into steep walls where thresher sharks rise from the depths at dawn. Divers descend before sunrise, waiting in the blue haze as the silhouettes of the sharks appear, long tails cutting through the light. Around them, smaller fish circle in the current, and the sea hums with quiet movement. In the mountains of Cebu, the Matutinao River spills through a series of turquoise pools known as Kawasan Falls. The water begins high in the hills, running cold and clear through limestone gorges before dropping into deep basins hidden by trees. Each tier is a curtain of blue-green water that glows against the white rock beneath it. The air stays cool even in the heat. Mist drifts through the jungle, and sunlight flickers on the surface as swimmers move through the pools. The river's sound never stops, a low, constant rush echoing between the cliffs. East of Siargao, beyond the surf breaks and coral reefs, lies Daku Island, a wide crescent of white sand surrounded by shallow turquoise water. The name means big in the local dialect, but the island feels intimate, wrapped in calm seas and rows of tall coconut trees that sway with the wind. Boats pull up along the shore, their hulls resting on clear water that barely reaches the ankles. The sand is fine and pale, soft beneath the heat. Farther out, the water deepens to a pure blue that glows under the afternoon sun. Fishermen mend their nets under the palms while children run through the shallows. The air smells of salt and coconut smoke, and the sea stretches in every direction, bright, calm, and endless. In the southern reaches of the Philippines lies Mindanao, a vast island of mountains, rivers, and deep rainforest. Volcanoes rise from its interior, their peaks hidden by clouds, while broad plains stretch toward coasts lined with mangroves and coral reefs. From the air, the island looks alive with movement, rivers twisting through valleys, smoke drifting from hidden craters, waves breaking along endless shores. The land is marked by water and fire. Lakes fill the basins of old volcanoes, and rivers carve gorges through limestone hills. In the east, waterfalls plunge from forested cliffs into green basins. In the west, high plateaus meet the sea in sudden drops of stone. Across its center, ridges form a spine of rainforest where mist rises from the canopy every morning. In the center of the Visayas, Boracay stretches only a few kilometers long, a thin line of sand between shallow seas. Its western shore, White Beach, glows under the sun like powdered glass. The water shifts in color through the day, from pale turquoise to a deep clear blue that mirrors the sky. Winds move across the island constantly. On one side, the sea stays calm. On the other, kites rise and arc above waves that crash against coral shallows. The sand stays cool even under the heat, and footsteps vanish almost instantly as the tide rolls in. At dusk, the light turns gold and then fades into violet. Boats drift close to shore, their sails catching the last wind of the day. Off the coast of Pangasinan, the sea breaks into a field of green and limestone, more than 100 small islands rising from blue water. Each islet is shaped differently, some steep and forested, others flat with narrow strips of white sand. From above, they look like fragments of land scattered across the Gulf, floating in calm, clear water that deepens to indigo at the edge. Boats weave through the channels between the islands, their wakes tracing lines through the still surface. Some islets hide small caves carved by the tide, their entrances half submerged in shadow. Others hold lagoons where the water turns still and glass-like, reflecting the cliffs above. At the southern edge of Mindanao, Sarangani Bay opens between green headlands and mountain ridges that fall steeply into the sea. The water here runs deep and dark, turning from turquoise near the shore to blue so rich it almost looks black. From the coast, the horizon feels endless, a straight line of sea and light that stretches toward the Celebes. Fishing boats move through the bay at dawn, their engines low and steady, nets glimmering behind them. The air smells of salt and smoke from the villages along the coast. Hills rise immediately behind the beaches, covered in grass that glows gold under the sun. From the slopes, the view reaches far across the bay, ships moving slowly below, the water bright as glass. Beneath the surface, coral reefs line the coast, alive with movement. Dolphins and whale sharks cross the deep channel during the season, following currents that sweep through the mouth of the bay. Off the coast of Leyte lies Kalanggaman, a long sandbar that stretches like a white ribbon across the sea. The island is narrow and flat, only a line of palms and sand surrounded by water that fades from turquoise to deep cobalt. From above, it looks unreal, a single curve of white cutting through the endless blue. The sandbar changes with the tide. In the morning, it widens, revealing ridges of fine sand beneath shallow waves. By afternoon, the sea begins to cover its edges again, until only a thin strip remains. Boats anchor just offshore, their hulls swaying in the clear shallows. There are no roads, no permanent houses, only wind, water, and light shifting across the sea. Every direction leads to the horizon. Off the coast of Bohol lies Balikasag, a small circle of land surrounded by some of the clearest water in the Philippines. The island is barely half a kilometer across, its shore lined with white sand and coral shallows that drop suddenly into deep blue. Beneath the surface, steep walls fall away into the sea. Coral gardens spread along the slopes, alive with turtles, schools of jacks, and bright reefs shaped by the current. Divers descend along these walls, drifting beside fish that move in silver clouds through the light. On land, palms bend over the sand, and narrow paths lead to the water from small cottages and boats pulled onto the beach. In the forest of Surigao del Sur, the Bislig River drops in wide curtains of white water known as Tinuy-an Falls. The cascade spreads more than 90 meters across, descending in 3 great tiers that thunder through the trees. Mist drifts over the valley, and sunlight breaks into rainbows above the pools below. The falls flow year-round, but after the rains they become immense, a wall of rushing water that fills the air with sound. Wooden rafts float near the base, where the current turns smooth and cold. Above, smaller streams spill from hidden ledges, tracing thin silver lines down the cliffs. The surrounding forest stays thick and wet. Ferns grow from the rocks, and vines hang over the trails that lead to the upper levels. At the base of Mayon Volcano lies Lake Albay, a calm mirror of water surrounded by low hills and farmland. On clear mornings, the perfect cone of the volcano reflects across the surface, its image rippling with every breeze. The lake rests in a broad basin formed by ancient eruptions, where volcanic soil keeps the fields green year-round. Fishermen move silently across the water in narrow boats, their reflections stretching under the light. Birds cross above the lake, their wings flashing in the distance. Along the shore, grasses and palms lean over the edge, stirring in the wind from the mountain. When clouds gather around Mayon's peak, its reflection fades from the water, leaving only the slow movement of ripples and the quiet sound of paddles against the lake. In the highlands of South Cotabato, Mount Matutum rises alone above the plains, a perfect volcanic cone covered in dense forest. Its slopes are steep and green, wrapped in clouds that cling to the ridges. From a distance, the mountain looks almost symmetrical, its peak catching the first light of morning before the valleys below begin to wake. The forests around it are thick with ferns, rattan, and towering trees that hide waterfalls and streams. Trails climb through bamboo and moss, the air cooling as the path narrows toward the summit. From above, the plains stretch wide and open, dotted with fields that follow the curves of old lava flows. To the surrounding communities, Matutum is more than a mountain. It is a living presence, watched and respected. Smoke still drifts from vents near its peak, a quiet reminder of the fire beneath the forest. At the northern edge of Luzon, the mountains of Pagudpud drop steeply into the sea, leaving only a narrow strip of land between rock and water. Along this edge runs the Patapat Viaduct, a ribbon of concrete suspended above the waves. The road curves with the mountain's shape, clinging to its side as it winds through mist and salt spray. From the highway, the sea stretches wide and blue, breaking against the cliffs below. Water drips from the ridges, forming thin waterfalls that cross beneath the bridge before falling into the rocks. When clouds move in from the north, the entire coast disappears into shifting gray. In the plains of Ilocos Norte lies Lake Pauay, a broad stretch of still water bordered by sand and low hills. The lake changes color with the light, deep blue at noon, bronze at sunset, silver under the moon. From its banks, the surface seems endless, a calm mirror framed by fields and scattered trees. Stories linger around the lake of an old town said to have sunk beneath its waters long ago. On quiet days, the sound of birds carries across the surface, and fishermen paddle small boats through the shallows, their reflections bending in the ripples. Beyond the shore, dunes rise toward the coast, and the wind moves steadily from the sea. The water remains calm beneath it, holding the sky in perfect stillness. South of Boracay, across a narrow stretch of sea, lies Carabao Island, an arc of limestone cliffs, palms, and quiet coves. The water around it is impossibly clear, turning from green to blue as it deepens. From a distance, the island looks untouched, its white beaches hidden between dark headlands that rise straight from the sea. Small boats approach through coral shallows, where the sand glows under the surface. The coastline curves in and out, forming coves where the waves break gently against rock. Above the cliffs, narrow paths wind through fields and coconut groves toward villages that overlook the water. At midday, the sea is bright enough to reflect on the cliffs. By evening, the horizon turns gold and violet. On the eastern coast of the Bicol Peninsula, Caramoan opens to the Pacific, a labyrinth of islands, cliffs, and white sand beaches hidden behind stone walls. The coastline twists around coves and headlands, where the sea glows pale green against the dark limestone. From above, the islands look scattered by hand, each one surrounded by shallow reefs that fade into deep blue. The land is sharp and restless. Cliffs rise from the water in sheer faces streaked with vegetation, their edges cut by wind and waves. Narrow beaches appear between them, small crescents of sand reachable only by boat. In the coves, the air smells of salt and rain, and the sound of sea echoes off the rock. At low tide, paths of coral and sand connect some of the islands before vanishing again under the returning waves. In the mountains of South Cotabato lies Lake Cebu, a highland basin wrapped in mist and forest. The lake sits more than 1,000 meters above sea level, its surface shifting from silver to blue as clouds move across the sky. Around it, ridges rise steeply, their slopes covered in ferns and bamboo that fade into the fog. Small boats glide over the still water, leaving narrow ripples behind them. The sound of paddles carries through the air, mixed with the calls of birds hidden in the trees. Fish pens form quiet grids along the surface, their wooden posts reflected in the lake below. The Taboli people have lived here for generations, weaving bright patterns from abaca fiber and singing stories passed down through the years. Beyond the village, waterfalls drop from the cliffs, their spray drifting over the forest. In the cool mornings, the lake mirrors the mountains around it, still and pale beneath the moving clouds. Mahaba Island stretches long and narrow across the sea, a strip of white sand bordered by forest and coral shallows. The water is so clear that the shadows of boats move across the seabed like drifting clouds. From end to end, the island curves in a smooth arc, its beaches empty except for shells, driftwood, and the sound of wind on the palms. On one side, the sea stays calm and shallow. On the other, it deepens quickly into blue that darkens toward the horizon. The sand glows under the sun, and the reef begins just a few steps from shore, walls of coral where fish scatter in bursts of color. At the southern tip of Palawan, far from the mainland, lies Onuk Island, a white sandbar surrounded by a sea so clear it mirrors the sky. From the air, it looks like a perfect oval of light, floating in endless blue. The water shifts in color with the sun, from pale turquoise to deep sapphire, where the reef drops away. The island is small and silent. A few wooden huts stand on stilts above the shallows, their reflections rippling with the tide. Around them, the water stays calm and shallow, revealing coral gardens and schools of fish moving in slow, bright waves. The Philippines is wild, diverse, and endlessly beautiful, where volcanoes rise from misty plains, islands glow in turquoise seas, and ancient traditions live beside modern cities. If this glimpse sparked your curiosity, hit subscribe. There are many more countries to explore right here on the channel.